Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu salam wa rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran with Durr the Jews of Quran spares, and we have reached Surah Hamazah. And Imam Al-Ghazali chose three verses 1, 2, 3. Again, we shall read the whole surah, inshallah, provide a preliminary interpretation, explanation, that is the translation, and then move on to address the content. بإذن الله عز وجل. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع ماله وعدده يحسب أن ماله كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة. This surah, the Humazah, the traducer, the slanderer, the backbiter, the while it's a threat, woe. The interpretation vary. About the nature of while, but the minimum is that this person, whoever is threatened with while, will be distanced from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some said it's a valley in hellfire. Woe to every backbiter, slanderer. Every backbiter, slanderer. The first of all, backbiting is a grave sin, kabira, and it has been said that the first one, humaza, it is in the right in the face of the person that they slander, and lumaza is behind his back, and lams behind the back, so it's a stab in the back, if you will. And in the Qur'an, أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه. Backbiting is tantamount to eating the flesh of your brother as a dead person, which is a very graphic image, as if one becomes like kind of a cannibal. Of course, it's a metaphor, but it shows that the gravity of this particular sin. It is destructive. It goes against really what people should do with the tongue. Is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ability to express yourself, al-bayan, وعلمه البيان, is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها, and he taught Adam the names of all things. The very first story in the Quran, the creation of Adam alayhi salam. He taught him the names of all things. It's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why use the tongue to backbite, for backbiting? And in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, said that, of course, he warned the companions, he advised them, he commanded them to pay attention to their tongues, to hold on to their tongues, to prevent the tongue really from engaging in a host of negative activities. These are the ills of the tongue. You talk about lying, you talk about backbiting, you talk about false witnessing, cursing. So you have a blessing, don't use it for that. So control your tongue. And the question was posed to the Prophet ﷺ, are we going to be held accountable? So because people might brush this as saying that, well, it's only speech, and the Prophet ﷺ responded by saying, وَهَلْ يَكُبُّ النَّاسَ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ أَوْ قَالَ عَلَى أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. Isn't it the case that people will be thrown on their faces, or he said on their noses, two different variations, in hellfire on the day of judgment, except as the harvest of their tongues. So it's not something to belittle or to think that it is to brush it off as something light. And while the context for the revelation of this particular verse is someone by the name of Al-Akhnas ibn Shuraiq, and it has been said also someone else, but the ultimately العبرة بعموم اللفظ لا بخصوص السبب. It applies to all people who engage in such an activity. Why would you disdain someone or try to mock someone, whether in public or right in the face of this person or behind his back? And when we talk about, first of all, our relationship with people in general should be based on respect. That's in the first instance. Number two, amongst Muslims, why would you, if you say, for example, if it's a physical thing, would you call someone, for example, fat, shorty, bald, whatever is the, or you might highlight in your sarcasm or mockery the clothing because it's simple or worn out, or if you have the money, if you somebody who's not, is literally his clothes, for example, are worn out, and you have the money, rather than mocking this person, in a beautiful way, take him to a nearby shop and just buy him the clothes. The issue is, do you know where is what's your status on the day of judgment? Because here it says, ultimately, of course, we're skipping two verses, we'll go back to them. He will be thrown into the crusher, حطمة. So, if it's based on seeing yourself higher than those people, this your ego itself has been inflated. Well, that crusher will crush your ego too. Everyone who has like a pharaoh like psyche, especially in a position of power, where they could inflict harm, discriminate against people because of skin color, because of background, racism, xenophobia, Islamophobia. But really, when it comes from a Muslim, do you know where is your, what status is yours on the day of judgment, where you are going to end? Do you know the status of this person that you are mocking? Could it be that he is really a friend of God? Yes. If he is, for example, someone who does wrong things, say somebody who drinks wine, this is not to be lenient vis-a-vis drinking wine, but this is about the person. The Prophet ﷺ, in one instance, a companion who used to drink, and more than once they brought him before the Prophet ﷺ. He used to get drunk, really, to drink alcohol, the wine. And another companion cursed the wine drinker, and the Prophet ﷺ prohibited him from cursing this companion. He said he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. إنه يحب الله ورسوله. So this teaches us how to deal with people with shortcomings, with people who committed sins publicly. But the bottom line, don't fall into that the trap. So woe to every backbiter, slanderer. Not only this, he who amasses wealth greedily and counts it repeatedly. الذي جمع ماله وعدده. Like sometimes you see it in people who in fact, there were people who kept money, counted the money, hid the money in mattresses and sofas and walls, and only people who were lucky enough to check these sofas that were sold, for pennies and in yards, yard sales, or someone who bought a house and knocked down the wall for renovation, and they will discover money that has been kept like this. الذي جمع ماله وعدده. So amasses wealth greedily and counts it repeatedly, thinking that their wealth will make them immortal. It doesn't. Money does not make you immortal. In Mesopotamian medicine, the Epic of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh wanted to become immortal. Literally, he wanted to become immortal. Those who seek eternal youth and against all odds, they don't want to become old. Like this lady who was interviewed after having 18 surgeries to alter her shape. Cosmetic surgeries, of course. None of them is out of necessity. Simply, she had a picture of herself as a youngster. She said she hates herself. And you know that people do. We can go on and on. You will not be immortal in this life. And wealth will, whatever you collect, you're going to leave behind, and you'll be held responsible for the source where you gain this money, and whether you pay the zakah, and whether you spend the money for halal, legitimate reasons. So thinking that their wealth will make them immortal, not at all. Such a person will certainly be tossed into the crusher. كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة. And what will make you realize what the crusher is? Narullah al-Muqada. It is Allah's kindled fire. التي تطلع على الأفئدة, which rages over the hearts. It has been mentioned that in the books of tafsir that the fire will consume them all the way to the hearts while they are still living, and they will continue to live in this life. If there is such a fire, typically people will be burnt alive. They will die. Any such fire, how many people were trapped in a fire in a house and they were found dead? In the hereafter, it's going to be the fire is immense. The punishment is very painful. Obviously, when the Quran says that that their skin will be rejuvenated, will be renewed, their skin will be replaced with another skin, and when it is burnt, there will be another skin perpetually. And this one might, of course, understand it's not only the skin. If the fire, consume them all the way to the hearts, it means that every single organ, in a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how that they will continue to be rejuvenated so that they will be punished time and again. This fire will be sealed over them, constraining them, tightly secured في عمد ممددة, tightly secured with long braces. Another possibility that the fire will be in towering columns. في عمد عمود عمد. So the fire will be in towering columns. They will be tied to these long pillars. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'la wa a'lam with it. The idea that they will be tied like this. There is such an image in Surah Yasin. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا من بين أيديهم. It means this physical barrier, if you will, it's up to their chest. There's no space. There's no space, and it has been also interpreted as heavy chains. All in all, at any rate, they have no way out of hellfire. Once they are inside, the non-believers have no way out. Suffice, inshallah, for this surah. Inshallah, in the next one, we will read Surah Al-Fil, and thereafter Quraysh. Imam Ghazali did not choose anything from both surahs. And then back again to Surah Al-Ma'un, from which Imam Ghazali chose the whole surah, I think. Once we get to that, we'll explain. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.